Everyone seems to have a theory about what happened to little Lilly and Jack Sullivan, two missing 4 and 6-year-old children from Lansdowne, Nova Scotia, Canada. They went missing around May 2nd of this year, 2025. Some believe that Jack and Lilly wandered off into the woods while Mom and Stepdad were sleeping with the baby. Janie, the step-grandma, she claimed she heard Lilly and Jack playing on the swing set right outside her really badly aging camper, where she claims she can hear absolutely everything. She's very clear she never saw either child that morning, but only heard them. But she went ahead and laid down for a nap, even though she heard them. But if the children had wandered off on their own, surely there would be some evidence of them that would be found by the searchers, like Lily's white backpack with the strawberry print, or one of the kids' boots left behind her, even a piece of clothing that they're wearing. However, there was only one piece of evidence found that even suggests the children had been at that location in the morning, and that was that boot print. And it was on the driveway there, and it had rained all night. The search dogs alerted on that. That is curious. If any one of the three of them, Janie, Daniel, or Malaya, are responsible for these kids being gone, then that single partial boot print would be easy to fabricate to mislead the searchers, just to assume that Lily and Jack made the print themselves. Other items that were also found in a grouping off the main property is about a mile away. It's near step-grandpa's property. Now, Malaya's family and friends searching were the ones to find all those items. And Daniel is claiming that the items were planted, and possibly by her family, to mislead the searchers and investigators to believe that the children wandered off. Meanwhile, he's claiming that they're hiding Lily and Jack on the reserve, maybe. A group of boot prints were also found near a pipeline around that same location. One of the boot prints matches the size of Lily's boot that she would have been wearing at that time. But Daniel, the stepfather, was searching there alone. And his mother, Janie, and his brother, Justin, picked him up on the four-wheeler. So it leaves a possibility if one of them were responsible for the children going missing, then they themselves may have planted both the boot print on the property and the boot prints at the pipeline, and maybe all the other stuff. I mean, they had access to the pink blanket. So I find it interesting. Also, they said it's been confirmed that all food items were accounted for, even though Daniel said the kids always helped themselves all the time to snacks, and neither child had had any breakfast. I don't think it takes a brain surgeon to assume the kids are going to be hungry in the morning, yet no food is missing that morning. If Lily has her backpack and both children are leaving on their own, wouldn't it seem likely, even at their age, they'd pack some snacks in Lily's backpack, like for their journey? No missing food means the children didn't even eat that morning before they went missing, even though there was food right there for them to take. Another thing that bothers me, some kids like to wear their coats all the time, like even in the house. Well, some kids avoid wearing their coat at all costs, like you're like, come here, put your coat on. But each kid is different. But it also was not only cold outside, like really cold out, it had rained all night and it was wet. Yet the children's coats weren't missing, meaning neither child had put their coat on before they went missing. It seems just highly questionable that both children would be willing to leave out into that cold and that wet morning without their coat if they left on their own. Like, what are the chances of that? I don't know. And then Daniel said he stuck a wrench in the front door to keep the bear out, right? And the back door of the trailer didn't work, and so they narrowed it down. It would have left only that little glass slider for the children to leave by. He also said he found it closed, which was out of the ordinary because he always had to remind Lily and Jack to close it behind him. Janie step-grandma, and Malaya, the mother, said that Jack didn't even like the woods. Janie said, I had to drag Jack by the hand or carry him in the woods, right? I hope you like my impression. So Jack would have needed a really good incentive to change his mind to venture into those woods. The lack of evidence left behind both children, no missing food, neither child putting on their coat, it's wet, it's cold, Jack hating the woods, and the slider found closed. I think it leaves most of us feeling like the children leaving on their own to go into the woods is highly unlikely. After studying this case for as long as I have, I actually think I have a very good theory that few have discussed. But before we get to that, let's talk about another theory. That is that the children were taken while waiting for the bus. An opportunist may have seen Lilly and Jack walking on the road towards the school. However, no evidence suggested that that happened according to the investigation by the RCMP. If the children were responsible enough to prepare themselves for school and get ready, why did they not eat breakfast or wear their coats? Or why did Jack not take his backpack as well? How did Janie not hear Lilly repeatedly calling, Jack, come on, Jackie, Jackie, come on, to follow her, as she always did in the past? Malaya and Daniel and Janie all suggest it's possible the children were taken, even though many agree with the RCMP, who continue to state they do not believe that that is true. So that doesn't leave a lot of options that the kids didn't leave on their own and there was no abduction. Then you have to kind of really look at the situation and go, well, there's foul play. And there would be Janie, there would be Daniel, and there would be Malaya. My theory is around Janie. But let's first, before I share that, let's talk about what theories there were around Malaya. So there was a guy named Daryl. He like a friend of the family. And he knew Malaya's family. He's related to Malaya's family. And he knew Daniel's family. And in theory, by marriage, he's related to Daniel's family. So kind of like a guy in the middle. So he talked to Janie and Daniel. And he came out on social media and made the claim that Malaya, the children's mother, snuck Lilly and Jack down the driveway while everybody else was sleeping. Put them in a familiar car to hide them away from CPS, hiding them on like her family reserve of First Nation. If that were the case, it would involve a conspiracy of a large group of many. And they'd need to be continuously keeping the children unseen for many years, like 10 years or more. Not to mention, everybody in the group would need to keep a secret and not be tempted by the $150,000 reward offered by the province. Janie claimed she could hear everything perfectly in her thin-walled camper, yet she never heard a vehicle that morning. Her dog never barked to alert anyone was near the property. And remember, it's cold and rainy weather. I think that would have been a factor without the coats for both children. I feel like Janie would have heard them upset at the weather. So, I don't know, a group conspiracy to hide the children on the reserve just seems beyond reason to those that have knowledge of the local bans and say public are welcome. The children would have been seen by now, or somebody would have leaked the details, or even called on the tip and claimed the reward money. The kids didn't go into the woods by themselves, and RCMP seems to think that they weren't abducted. Also, I don't believe that. It really only leaves 3 people, Malaya, Daniel, and Janie. We've discussed the theory that Malaya has possibly taken these children and hidden them on a reserve, and we really don't see that happening because it would involve everybody, a whole conspiracy, and that could get very, very messy. There's a $150,000 reward. I just don't see it happening. And so now we're left with Daniel and Janie. And here's the thing. My theory involves Daniel, but not as many assume. which is that Daniel somehow is possible responsible for the children being missing, but rather, perhaps Daniel may be protecting not his brother Justin, but his mother, Janie. Here's why. The more I listened to Janie share how she felt about Lily and Jack in such a negative light, the more I began to wonder if she perhaps could be the reason that the children are missing. She owns the property where Daniel, Malaya, and the children lived. In fact, it was her trailer. However, she moved into the little shack of a camper behind the trailer so that Daniel, Malaya, and the kids could live there. Janie expressed such disdain for Lily many times in conversation. She spoke of Lily's scream, claiming she didn't know anyone that could stand that, and said that's all she heard every day from Lily was that scream. She complained that Lily's scream would trigger her dog to bark nonstop and stress the dog so bad that it was losing its hair. She complained Lily was constantly outside her trailer, calling to Jack, "Come on, Jackie, come on, Jack, Jackie, come on," to follow. And she heard that all the time, too. Janie also made a strong reference to Jack having a habit of moving stuff and letting her chickens out of the pen because he liked to do that all the time, and Daniel would get on to him for it. Janie said she was the only one that watched the kids when they were outside playing. She said she would call Malaya every morning to get the kids because they were outside. She explained in detail how she broke down and cried on the sawhorse right where that boot print was because she blamed herself for the kids being missing because she didn't call Malaya that morning. Janie usually went to town with her brother in the morning, but again, her normal behavior is different this morning when the kids go missing. Instead of her brother picking her up, she opts to stay home. Janie's morning seems to be unlike any other morning. She hears the children playing outside her camper, but does not call the mother, and chooses to nap instead of going to town with her brother. Janie stated she did have pictures of Lily and Jack at first, and then she said no, she didn't have any pictures because she saw them every day and didn't need them. Nothing Janie shared about either Jack or Lily was ever positive, but rather an intrusion into Janie's life, leaving her distraught and forced to constantly tend to their needs while their mother laid in bed in the house and tended to the baby. The only evidence on that property, the small boot print in the driveway. And that's exactly where Janie claimed she was leveling the ground for a pool for the kids. May 2nd is very early for a pool, and why would she choose to put the pool next to her camper if the children were distressing her dog and her nerves? No one has expressed more dislike and disdain for Lily and Jack than Janie. Janie is very direct in her nature and often barks out her words defensively. She says she blames herself because if she had just called Malaya that morning, the kids wouldn't be missing. Yet Janie turns a suspicion towards Malaya, even though Janie herself admits she could have heard anything clearly and had only heard the children playing near the camper. No other sounds, no cars, didn't hear Malaya, but yet puts suspicion toward Malaya. If Daniel and Malaya were sleeping with the baby, and Lily and Jack left the trailer to go play by Janie's camper, had Janie had enough? Did she go over and quietly close the slider door, leaving their little jackets, their little coats inside, so as not a chance to wake anyone? Did she decide to restore what she considered her peace for herself and her dog? Could Janie have taken the children to her other property, which Janie said was 7 acres, and there's no water, which is located by Daniel's dad's property, who owns about 100 acres, and this just happens to be where Lily's boot print was found, close to the pink blanket in the trees? Oh, and the little water bottle? No one has ever said that Janie's other property was searched. Perhaps you feel that she would never hurt the children herself, but can you be certain that she would not abandon them in her own woods to assure her own peace and quiet? Remember, Janie is the one that said she almost had to, quote, drag Jack by the hand to get him to go into the woods. Was she referring to the morning the kids went missing? Could that be Janie's boot prints along with Lily's on the pipeline while she was carrying Jack? Many still find it highly suspicious that Janie was being told by RCMP that if she didn't allow them in her camper to search, they would get a search warrant and she would be charged with obstructing an investigation. Out of all 3 people on the property when Jack and Lily went missing, she is the only one that could not take a polygraph test due to her medical condition, leaving us all to wonder if she had passed or would she have failed, and wondering if the RCMP will ever search her 7 acres of woods near where the boot print, the blanket, and the water bottle were found. I pray for Lily and Jack, I truly do, all the time. They never leave my heart. And I pray that RCMP will take those cadaver dogs that they're supposed to be bringing over to Janie's property, not the little 2.5 acres where the camper and the trailer are, but the 7 acres that's landlocked by her in-laws, her ex-in-laws, or ex-husband I should say, and her own family. That's a lot of woods there. And we know they haven't searched the 100-acre woods, right? Thank you all for tuning in. I kindly encourage you to hit the like button if you would for me. It would greatly help my channel, and I would greatly appreciate that. I love you. To the moon and back. Thank you. And may Jack and Lily be found.